Welcome to the Cabin Fever Challenge 2022 awards video. What is the Cabin Fever Challenge? It's a shooting competition comprised of 4 shooting positions: standing, kneeling, prone, and sitting in that order, with a mandatory 5-round reload in between each position. Here we go, starting with Division 1.
Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to Cabin Fever Challenge 2022 Division 1 Vintage Semi-Auto. On the 14th place this year, we've got Mr. Charles Prescott with his beautiful 1951 July SKS, scoring total of 5.35. 13th place goes to Mr. Flinch Faster and his M1 carbine, scoring 3 hits for a total score of 10.07. Next up, on the 12th place, we've got Chili Rabbit with decent hitting of 7 hits on target for total score of 26.12. Just throttle it up and you'll be on the top half the next year. And on the 11th place, we've got Outdoor Ed with an interesting gun, a Czech VZ52/57, and this is the first submission for the type. And on the 10th place, we've got Sean Elliott with SKS and a really neat camera angle, and I actually wish that we had more of these. This shows you the manipulation of action and a nice field of view to the target downrange. For 9th place, we've got Bob Beck shooting his Italian M1 Garand in 7.62 NATO and wearing a neat costume. Bob scores 6 hits in 81 seconds for a total score of 37.04. And for the 8th place, we've got CNR Collector with his Soviet SKS, bayonet affixed. He shoots 8 hits in 99 seconds for a score of 40.40. Next up, on the 7th place, we've got AKM 294 shooting his M1 carbine, resulting in 8 hits in 87 seconds for a total score of 45.98. 10 on the 6th place is my very own presentation of mediocre marksmanship with my 1974 Ismas AKM. This time around I was able to score 6 hits, but I missed fast enough to spend only 61 seconds on the clock, yielding a total score of 49.18. Moving into the top 5, we've got Murray on the line first. Murray, who is a division leader for Division 2 Unlimited, shot a fascinating duel between his vintage original and tricked out SKSs. Make sure to check out his full Baba vs Babushka video on his channel. The Babushka rifle performed well, and we found 11 hits on the targets in 105.90 seconds, resulting in a score of 52.29. On the 4th place, we've got DMP in BC with his Chinese SKS. With 12 hits on target, he's the most accurate shooter in the division this year. His total score is 57.14. Well done.
Okay.
On the 3rd place, we've got a shooter called Arloxon from Alaska. He displays us a well-balanced result with 10 hits on target in 78-19 for a score of 63.9. Great job.
10 rounds. 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Our top 2 is filled with some familiar household names. Erin the Viking, who entered the match as a defending back-to-back champion and all-time Division 1 record holder, files a solid 9-hit, 62-second submission with his Norinco SKS Hunter. That's good for a score of 72.58. Well shot. And for this year's top performance, we get to enjoy Orgear's run with his Century Arms AK-47. Eight hits on target on a mighty fast 50-second time, he scores 80 even and takes the Division 1 belt home for 2022. Lastly, let me express my warmest thanks for all the participants. Keep on challenging yourselves and please revisit us for the next year match. Cheers!
Howdy folks, this is Murray with 3BarD Videos, and I was once again this year's host for the Modern Division, Division 2. That includes modern rifles and tricked out vintage class rifles. So for the year of 2022, we officially received 17 entries for this division. I'm going to be going briefly over all of them, and then diving a little bit more into detail for 5th place and higher up. So starting off, from USA, we have Charles Prescott. Using his AR-15, he managed to get 35.72 for a score.
Well, it's different.
Then we have, from Canada, Bob Beck. Using his Tavor X95, he managed to get 39.60. Once again in Canada, we have Honorous from Elemental Studios. He used a Just Right carbine chambered in 9mm and scored 39.95, so very close to the previous entry. From USA, we have Tom from 57 Actual using his Franklin Arms and BCM built AR-15. He managed to get a score of 43.69. Then from Finland, we have Mike 9975 using an AR-15. He managed to get 48.91. And once again from Finland, we have Puglot using Stag Arms 15. He got 54.95. From Canada, we have William with Blast Shadow using a modified SKS in a design that he calls the SK22, and he got 57.92. From USA, we have MAJ Morgan using a 20-inch AR-15. He got 63.22. Then from Canada, we have myself using my modified SKS. I got 67.18. From USA, we have CNR Collector using a AR-15A2. He got 101.69. A major jump from the previous entries of 67 and below. But from here going on, things get pretty darn tight this year, which is quite interesting. From USA, we have Ryan from Wargear. He was using a WWSD AR-15, and he got 102.04. And then from Canada, we have DMP in BC using a Caltech RDB rifle, and he got 106.67. And that brings us to 5th place. This year in 5th place, we have Distract Teach from USA. Distract Teach is also one of the hosts for this year's challenge. I think he hosted Division 6. So this year he was using his tricked out Mini 14 made by Ruger, and he was doing it in winter conditions in a farm setting, and he even went as far as to lay and sit down in the snow without a mat, so that's dedication right there. He did have a couple malfunctions in the prone, but he made up for it with some wicked fast follow-up shots in both sitting and I believe prone as well. Nonetheless, he managed to get 17 hits on target in a time of 78.8 seconds with the malfunction. That gave him a score of 107.87, so excellent shooting there, especially in those conditions. Now moving on into 4th position, we have AKM 295 from USA using his Smith & Wesson MMP. He did it in a range environment, but it was windy. It seems like every entry this guy makes in previous years, it's always windy at his range, which I get a kick out of because I find shooting in the wind to be quite difficult. So kudos for him. He managed to get 13 hits on target in a time of 58 seconds, giving him a score of 112.07, which is almost double what he got last year. So that's some major improvements with the same gun. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does in 2023. And in 3rd place, we have 3MTA3 from Canada. This guy competes every year despite the numerous setbacks he's constantly facing, being applied by our government here in Canada. And he always takes the time to make a little jab at it in his videos, which always is interesting to watch and funny if you're a Canadian. Nonetheless, this year he used his WK-180C in a range environment, and he scored 14 hits in 53 seconds, giving him a score of 132.08. 2nd place, we have Aaron the Viking from USA, using an interesting two-tone AR variant called the KP-15, I believe, light carbine, and he topped it off with an ACOG optic. It's a gun I've never really seen before, so don't know much about it. He did this in a range environment, and he scored 13 hits only, but he did it in a blazing fast 37 seconds, which I believe is the fastest time in the Division 2 category to date. So he set a record there, giving him a score of 175.68, putting him in the record spot until our final entry. And for our final entry, in first place, we have Bob Harris from USA using his tricked out AR-15 in a very windy but also beautiful grassland setting. He managed to get 18 hits on target in a time of 50.91 seconds, despite having a little bit of a hiccup with his bolt release at one point. He had to manually charge the gun. But because of the combination of a fast time and a very high hit ratio, he managed to get 176.78 seconds, which is a new Division 2 record for this year. So absolutely excellent shooting on Bob Harris's part. We've seen him make entries before, and he always places quite well. You can definitely tell by the smoothness and the effective handling that he has with his rifles that he does a lot of shooting like this quite often, and he's very experienced. And it shows with his results. So congratulations to you, Bob, and we definitely look forward to seeing if you can top that entry next year. It might be hard to do. Top entries like that, it might fall down to using 22 rifles here pretty soon. So anyways, congrats to everybody who competed this year, and it was a pleasure to see your entries, and I look forward to seeing you all participate next year. Until then, take care.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan with the YouTube channel Origear, and I am very proud to be the division leader for Division 3, or manually operated, this year. I feel like Division 3 and the manually operated division has kind of been one of those foundational divisions for the Cabin Fever Challenge. I just feel like it fits in really well with what the goals are, and as always, this year was no exception, that there's always some really gorgeous firearms being used in Division 3 that I had the joy of watching with everyone's submission. This year, I believe we had about 17 people submitted in Division 3, and we had some really great scores, some really great runs, and it was just, again, great to see everyone go through. I'm going to highlight the top 10 in order and then do some honorable mentions before we get to the end, because again, it was just a real pleasure being able to go through each and every submission that was sent in. So in number 10, we have Sean from Canada. He was running an Enfield number 4 Mark 1, obviously in 303. He had 8 hits in 105 seconds for a score of 38.1. He did a really great job working through some feeding issues that he was running into on that rifle, but definitely didn't let that slow him down. In number 9, also from Canada, we have Bob B, also running an Enfield. He had a number 4 Mark II. He had 10 hits and 129 seconds for a score of 38.76. Again, really great run of another Enfield from a fellow Canadian, fellow of Sean, not me here in the United States. At number 8, we had C&R Collector here from the USA, running a 1903 A3 in 30-06. He had a score of, I'll make sure I'm in mine here, 9 hits in 114 seconds for 39.47. He had really great smooth bolt operation on that thing. Those rifles are great shooters, and he definitely took advantage of that smooth action to get a pretty decent score on that one. At number 7, we have one of our fellow moderators here. That was Distract Teach, also here from the US. He, even though the manually operated division is definitely heavily populated by bolt actions, he decided to run a lever action Rossi R92 in 45 Colt. He did a phenomenal job given his circumstances. He got 16 hits in 198 seconds for a score of 40.4. He was basically shooting in what looked like blizzard conditions, and considering he had to, manually feed one at a time through the loading gate with big, thick winter gloves on, he definitely made the best of his situation, and again came in at number 7. Number 6, we have someone from Finland, Mike 9975, running also a lever action, a Marlin 1894 in 38 Special. He had 16 hits in 180 seconds as well, 16 hits, I should say, for a score of 44.44. He also had a really great grouping, just overall, even his misses were pretty dang close. And again, a very respectable score given a lever action where you're having to manually feed each and every one of those rounds into your magazine tube. So really respectable job there. And we have now our first representation from Finland in this list. At number 5, also a Canadian outdoor ed. He was running a Mossberg MVP chambered in 223. He had 10 hits and a very fast 103 or 103 seconds. One thing that he did a good job of was using that sling, really binding into that sling in a couple of those shooting positions, and that helped him definitely keep that group pretty tight in that time. Again, score 48.54. In at number 4, we have another Finnish rifleman. He was using a Mosin M2830 chambered in 7.62 by 54. If I'm not mistaken, that's the same rifle that Simo Haya is well known for using. He had 10 hits as well in 101 seconds, for a score of 49.5. So again, really good job there. Now we get into our top 3. In third position, we have Jarkko from Finland, and he was using a Finnish M39 Mosin in 7.62 by 54. He had 11 hits in 103 seconds for a score of 53.4. He had a really good rhythm, really good cadence with his shots. That's one of the things that jumped out to me right away. Just really good pacing. You can tell that this is not his first rodeo running one of those. In at number 2 from Canada, we have 3 MTA3 using a Maple Ridge 223 rifle. I was not familiar with these rifles. It's basically like an AR-15 that's a bolt action, kind of a fascinating rifle, and he did a really good job with that, getting 12 hits and a very fast 80 seconds. I believe that is the fastest run that we had. It is the fastest run for the manually operated division this year. So he got a score of 75 points. So it jumps quite up from the third position here in score. Again, did a really great job. Really nice, smooth operation on that rifle. Before we get to number 1, I want to go ahead and throw some honorable mentions out there. Again, we have plenty of people who we don't just simply have time to name them all. However, a couple people I'd like to shout out. First of all, from Australia, we had Wayne E. He was shooting a Lithgow SMLE in 303. He is our only submission for Division 3 coming from south of the equator. So while a lot of you Canadians that I was watching, and those of you from Finland, and even some of from here in the US, who looked, just watching your videos made me look cold, made me feel cold. Wayne from Australia, watching his video made me a little sweaty. He's the only one shooting this in the summer. So really great representation. Glad to see some people in Australia still enjoying their the firearms rights that they still have down there. And then also I want to give a shout out from Canada. We have Nesna Nat. He was running what he called his Chiang Kai-shek rifle in 8mm. He, I think, had the best cosplay for Division 3 this year. He was not only in the full outfit, he also was running a bayonet, and as far as I can recall, it was the only bayonet-mounted Division 3 run, so he definitely gets some bonus points for that. And again, we had a lot of great submissions from people this year. Sorry we don't have time for everyone. And number 1 in first place, we have from the good old United States of America, we have Brent Y shooting a Ruger American, also chambered in 5.56. He had 14 hits in a very fast 89 seconds for a total score of 78.65. Again, really great run. These rifles chambered in 223 seem to do consistently well every year. And obviously you guys can extrapolate that from that what you will. But again, I want to say thanks to everyone who sent in submissions this year. And we're really glad to have this community continue to grow given the things going on around the world. I know a lot of people wanted to participate who are unable to just due to time restraints or whatever else was going on, not to mention the difficulty in sourcing ammo or even reloading components for those of you who like to roll your own. And it's really great too, just from the division leader perspective, watching each and every person's run. Obviously we have people coming in at all skill levels, all experience levels. However, the thing that stayed consistent through every single run was everyone's attention to safety, and obviously that is the most important thing in a competition like this, seeing everyone take that safety aspect seriously and make sure that everything they're doing, no matter how fast or how slow they went, that safety was maintained, and that again just makes me really proud to see that kind of stuff regardless of experience level. And I'm sure that as the years go on, those of you who may be a little bit further down on the list are able to start bringing those scores up. And that's one thing I want to say too, for Wayne down in Australia. The video that he submitted, he did a really great job just doing a self-reflection on what he did well, what he did poorly, what he can work on. And I think that's a very valuable thing for all of us to do in a situation like this, is look at what we did, find the things that we did well, find the things that we did poorly, and use those to build ourselves up and become better, so that come Cabin Fever 2023, we can all bump up our scores a little bit and continue to grow together as a community. And I want to finish off by saying thanks to Rifle Chair once again for helping to organize this and bringing us all together. Without him, none of us would be here doing this. So big thanks to Rifle Chair for once again organizing this, and I'll send it back over to you guys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Rick Nethery, coming at you from East Texas. Today what I'm doing, I'm bringing you the results of the Cabin Fever Challenge 2022 Division 4. That's single shot rifles. I've got it all jotted down right here, so I'm going to look at it. Okay, in first place we have the CNR collector. I'm sorry I didn't know the man's real name, but he's got a YouTube channel, very nice. He was shooting a 310 Cadet Mini Martin. He scored 15 hits in a very impressive time of 164 seconds for a grand total score of 45.73. Beautiful rifle, very well made video. I really enjoyed watching it. In second place we had Robert Harris. He's also got a YouTube channel. Mr. Harris was shooting a very nice looking Peter Solly Sharps 4570. He scored 13 hits in a time of 297 seconds for a grand score of 21.89. Excellent shooting. Again, a very good video. Third place we have Mr. Bob Beck from Canada. The other two were from America. I left that out. From Canada, he was shooting a 3-band Snyder 577. Excellent video, excellent presentation. He scored 5 hits in a time of 262 seconds for a total score of 9.54. He's third place. And the final one, I had 4 entries, but this man gets an honorable mention, and I want him to know, Mr. Charles Pruitt, sir, if you're watching this, I have the ultimate respect for you based on your integrity. You, sir, are awesome, and in my eyes, a true champion. You're shooting Mr. Prescott was shooting a trapdoor Springfield, very neat looking Springfield, and he missed the target. He didn't get a single hit. All his hits were a little bit left of it, but he had the integrity to post it, and I think the man is awesome. But that's the results I have. Thank you for competing. Come back next year, Mr. Pruitt. Come back and do it again, or actually do a little better. Signing out. Life is good.
Welcome to the 2022 Cabin Fever Challenge Division 5 Muzzleloaders. We had an outstanding turnout this year with a total of 13 competitors taking the black. So let's see some highlights from this year's match. Both Ethan from I Love Muzzleloading and Orgear showed how grit and determination can see you through when things go unplanned.
Lost my flint.
Oh no!
Ethan had a mishap with his jaw screw coming loose and his flint making a mad dash to freedom, and Orgear had a whole bunch of misfires slowing him down, but both of them stuck to it and got all of their shots off with some impressive groups. It's black powder. Things go wrong, but these two gentlemen handled the hurdles with class.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
Aaron the Viking and Charles Prescott demonstrate that muzzleloading doesn't have to be about 30-foot-long matchlocks weighing roughly 200 pounds with uber-thin forearms that swell and warp in the rain. You can have a short and handy rifle with modern conveniences like a polymer stock. Goes to show that in 2022, you really can have it all. CNR Collector joined the Brotherhood very recently with a Thompson Center Renegade in .50 caliber and had a really good run using equipment you can get in any well-stocked gun store and for an affordable price. Pavel Mislik, Fabian, otherwise known as the Chap, and Bill Kopos demonstrate some very smooth loading and shooting techniques. These guys are cool as cucumbers without a single hitch or bump in their runs. It's the sort of thing that comes with experience, and there's a lot a new shooter can learn by watching these pros.
That'll do it.
Both Mike the Iron Ram and Barry Geipel shared some one-of-a-kind black powder rifles. Mike made his custom Isaac Haynes Liberty Gun-inspired flintlock himself, and man is that a beauty of a rifle. And does he shoot it well? You bet he does. Look at that group! Wow! Barry's rifle is an incredible example of ingenuity. It's a Norwegian Kammerlader. It's likely the most advanced pre-cartridge era rifle ever invented. Barry gives us a great demonstration of why the Norwegians chose this rifle. It's quick to load and can be done while prone, and that's a huge advantage on a two-way range. Sometimes a little preparation goes a long way. Both Distratich and British muzzleloaders gives us a demonstration of what pre-measuring loads can do. Distratich puts together some Pritchett-style cartridges, which are quick loading and easy to carry in a pocket, because sometimes you just want to put some stuff in your pocket and go without all the nonsense that comes along with it. British muzzleloaders' Macaron pattern cartridges are meticulously made. And do they ever perform? British muzzleloaders' reloads are quick and efficient every time and go a long way to help them achieve a smoking fast time of 1 minute and 49 seconds. A very impressive run, and in full military attire to match the Baker rifle no less. Okay, so let's get on to what we came here for, the scores. In third place is CNR Collector with a score of 12.42. CNR Collector is new to black powder muzzleloaders, but he's a top competitor and shows us some excellent technique. He landed all 4 shots in 161 seconds with a Thompson Center Renegade in .50 cal. In second place is Bill Kopos with a score of 13.39. Bill broke the mold and only hit the target 3 times, but he did it in a smoking fast time of 112 seconds. Goes to show that the 1853 Enfield is no slouch, and neither is Bill. And in first place is British Muzzleloaders with a score of 18.35. British Muzzleloaders has set the standard for marksmanship in this division, and for his dedication to historically correct kit. I don't think there is another YouTuber that comes close to British Muzzleloaders content. It really is a gem and shouldn't be missed. British Muzzleloaders hit the target 4 times, and he did it in an unbelievably fast time of 109 seconds. And that's including the extra time needed to prime a flintlock pan. Oh yeah, he also managed to fit in a Monty Python joke, a history lesson, and he ran the longest 50 meters ever recorded on film. Well done, British Muzzleloaders! But watch out for next year. There's a bunch of very talented shooters nipping at your heels, and I'm betting they're already working out ways to knock you off the top spot. Thank you to all the competitors this year. The turnout was amazing, and I appreciate the time you spent shooting the match, especially considering all of the cleaning you had to do at the end of the day. So have a good one, and I'll see ya out on the range.
Hey folks, welcome to the results for 2022 on Division 6. We had 20 entrants came in this year, so I'm very happy to say that 22 Rimfire Division was very popular. What was also very popular was the Ruger 1022. A lot of you guys used that to great effect in this division here, but we did have a couple of us that managed to hang on and do pretty well. So, without further ado, here are the results. Coming up at the tail here, we had a really interesting submission by the Chap, who many of you know from the Bloke on the Range. He entered with a Mass 45, and he scored 14.22. A lot of props for using an antique piece of equipment like that, especially since I'm sure magazines were quite difficult to come across. Then in 19th place, we had Charles Prescott. He had a CMMG insert in his AR-15, which is pretty cool. He scored a 14.23. Then in 18th place, this one gave me a good laugh. We had Tudnam, and he entered with his first rifle from childhood, which is a Lakefield Mark I that had been cut down very small. So props to you for making that thing work. It was a score of 15.71.
Oh, that sucked.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
In 17th place, we had Yarnell with his Sacco Quad and a score of 26.53. In 16th place, we had Watch and Shoot with his Ruger 1022 and a score of 32.52. In 15th place, we had Jarkko Leivinen and with his TOZ-17 and a score of 39.06. Nice shooting. On 14, we had Pluglot with his Tika T1X and a score of 44.3. And I have to say, thanks to you, I now know how to count to 5 and finish, because as I was watching your submission, I was trying to figure out what exactly you were mumbling to yourself as you shot. Turns off that he was counting his shots. So, nicely done. In 13th place, we had Major Morgan with a Ruger 1022 and a score of exactly 52 points. And that's very commendable, considering he's mentioned that he downed a couple energy drinks right before it, so I'm sure the caffeine jitters must have really gotten you there. In 12th place, we had 57 Actual with a Tippmann M422 and a score of 66.67. In 11th place, we had a fellow Long Islander like myself, Bill Kopos, and a score of 78.95. And Bill, I have to say, I'm surprised you managed to find a firing range that wasn't an absolute disaster zone. Nicely done.
I already said, you dirty rat.
Yeah, but I say it better.
In 10th place, we had AKM 295 with a Ruger 1022 and a score of exactly 80. In 9th place, we had Murray at 3Bar D Videos and his GSG 16 with a score of 82.28. Nice shooting, Murray. In 8th place was yours truly with my Marlin 80DL and a score of 82.77. And then in 7th place, Rifle Chair managed to inch me out just a little bit. He used a self-described ugly gun, a Savage M64F. And his score was 83.33. In 6th place, we had Mike 9975 with his Ruger 1022 and a score of 84.16. In 5th place, we had CNR Collector with a Ruger 1022 and a very commendable score of 144.07, our first score of the bunch that is above 100. In 4th place, we had Aaron the Viking with a Smith & Wesson 1522 and a score of 151.22. And that brings us up to our podium finish. So here comes the drum roll. In 3rd place, we have Sean Elliott with a Savage A22. Proved to be a very consistent shooter. He had to resubmit after the magazine rule clarification, and he resubmitted, and he performed just as well in completely different conditions. His total recorded score was 154.55. In second place, we had Bob Harris with a Ruger 1022 and an absolutely beautiful backdrop. I'm wondering maybe that's Utah or somewhere around there. Definitely southwestern United States, up in the prairie. And his score was 163.64. Nice shooting, Bob. And then in first place, with a absolutely blistering run, we had 3MTA3. He was using a Remington 597 AB, and he broke 200. He got 202.38 for his score. Very impressive. I actually had to go through that submission a couple times because I wanted to make sure that it was for real. That was some blisteringly fast shooting. Very nicely done. So that concludes our results for Division 6. I'm glad that Rifle Chair brought me on for it, and I want to thank you all for entering, and I hope we'll see you next year. See if you can beat your scores from this year.
So to conclude the match, I'll do a quick review over some of the highest scores that we've observed in the Cabin Fever Challenge since its inception in 2014. Starting with Division 1. Vintage semi-automatic rifles. The all-time highest score still belongs to Aaron the Viking from 2021, shooting a CSA VZ58 in 7.62 by 39. You know, he's really been able to demonstrate kind of the target that all of us need to aim for, no pun intended. However, his exceedingly fast shooting times, in this case 49 seconds, with a total of 11 strikes on the target, has essentially kept him in that position with a total score of 112.24, our all-time highest score for Division 1. Shortly after, and following in second position overall in 2019 is Orgear, shooting a Soviet AK-74. You know, similar times, similar scores, really, really great shooting. And then Viking R, again, shooting the CAI VZ 2008, similar kind of rifle. So interesting patterns and trends for Division 1. For Division 2, which is unlimited, we really see the AR-15 kind of dominating the top 10 spots. I mean, essentially, with a few exceptions, the AR-15 is right in the lead pretty much across the board. We have a new record though for this year, which now belongs to Bob Harris, shooting an AR-15 with 18 hits on target and 50.91 seconds with a total score of 176.78. The all-time new highest score. That's the new record. Followed shortly afterwards by another AR-15 by Aaron the Viking, and Yeva Betzer shooting a Tavora X95 9mm. So really, really beautiful, nice shooting, great shooting. In Division 3, patterns and trends since its inception in 2014, we see Rifle Chair is still in the dominant position. From 2019, shooting a Tikka CTR in 308 Winchester with 17 hits on target and a total of 95 seconds for an all-time highest score of 89.5. Shortly after, we see Robert Harris, which is a name that's starting to become pretty popular in this competition. He's a very, very good marksman, shooting a Ruger American in 7.62 by 39, and his score is right in behind Rifle Chair. And Brent Y, again, shooting another Ruger American. You start to see these particular kinds of rifles performing very, very well. Obviously, it's the person behind the rifle that is making it work so effectively. But they're choosing the Ruger American. They're choosing the Tikka CTR for a reason. And there's several, actually, Lee Enfields in the top 10 position as well. So even though we're in 70, 80-year-old rifles, they're still contenders. Very interesting. In Division 4, single shots, we see an obvious trend developing in the top 10 shooting positions. Again, Rifle Chair still holding the top the top all-time highest score with from 2020 using a Martini small action and 22 Hornet with 16 hits on target in 160 seconds for a total of 50 points. Now, very close behind him is CNR Collector, again with another Martini and 310 Cadet. A similar score. And in third place, British muzzleloaders, again running a Martini Henry. So the Martini is very popular in Division 4, and it performs very well. So people that are interested in getting into the single shot category, maybe start looking at what the Martini is all about. In muzzleloaders, we have a new high all-time score shot by British muzzleloaders using the Baker rifle, which is super cool. A fairly rare rifle. You don't see too many of those around. And right on his heels is Bill with a 2-bend Enfield, and Bill Coppas with a 1853 Enfield 2-bend. You know, it's just a super cool division. We got a lot of shooters this year in Division 5 muzzleloaders. Really enjoyable to watch. Really enjoyable. And lastly, you know, for Division 6, which is the first time we've had a Division 6 for 22 Rimfire, we have an all-time highest score, new record. You know, it's the first time the division's actually been shot. But with a Remington 597 with 17 hits in 42 seconds for over 200 points. That's super fast. So as we go through the patterns and trends for all these different divisions, one of the commonalities is generally the hits on target, but what is not common is the time it's shot in. That seems to be the deciding factor for almost all of these shooting divisions. Bob Harris again with a Ruger 1022, and Sean Elliott with a Savage A22. So super cool rifles, super cool marksmen, and I'm really proud that you've all entered into the competition and shown us, you know, kind of how it's done. So I'd like to say thank you to all of the competitors that have entered into the competition. A couple of special mentions to Charles Prescott, who for the first time ever in Cabin Fever Challenge history has shot all 6 divisions. He shot all 6 rifle divisions. That's a lot of rifle cleaning to have to do afterwards. And also to Bob Beck, who entered 4 divisions this year, but was attired in the most Canadian manner I think I've ever seen. That's the most Canadian clothing pattern and combination I think I've ever seen. So well done there. So thank you to all of you, to Canada, United States, Finland, Britain, and Switzerland. You've all entered into the competition. This is truly a global competition, and we're all very proud that you've all entered into it. Some of you shot in extremely wintry conditions. Some were shooting in blizzards with sideways snow. Some of you were shooting in snowpack that's bordering on 1.5 meters high. Fluffy snow is exceedingly difficult to shoot in those conditions, and you all did very well. So on behalf of our division leaders, Carju, 3Bar D Video, Orgear, Rick Nethery, Distract Teach, Tudenom, and myself, Rifle Chair, I'd like to thank all of you for entering into the competition and making musketry fun. It's all fun to watch you guys shoot. Cheers, and as always, Maple Leaf up.